Okay, Doja Cat is a friend of the channel. I think it's official.
Yeah, she is.
I think it's official. She's a
She
friend
made
of the
it.
channel.
Yeah, she made it.
And she has a message for parents who bring their children to her shows.
Uh-oh.
And her message is, my music ain't for kids. Leave your kids at home. Don't bring your kids to my show. So,
Oh.
you know, her being the outspoken person on social media that she is, even though every other week she complains about social media and how toxic it is. So she likes to have it both ways. But in this instance, she is saying, leave your kids at home because my music isn't for children. So this says Doja Cat slams parents who bring kids to her shows. Don't make music for children. Doja Cat is getting into it with parents. On Friday, April 26th, the Say So performer, 28, made it clear that her explicit lyrics aren't appropriate for children and she doesn't want them at her shows. I don't know what the F you think this is, but I don't make music for children, so leave your kids at home, mother effer, Doja wrote on X,
Whoa.
without sharing what prompted her to voice her thoughts on the matter. She then addressed how the raunchy nature of her lyrics isn't appropriate for kids to hear. I'm rapping about, see, why are you bringing your offspring to my show? Doja Cat added to
Whoa.
the platform. So there's the post there for yourself. I'm not going to use the word because I don't want YouTube to deprioritize this video.
Uh,
Um, the AI machine learning at Google works, folks. It is a real thing. So there is what she said here. I'm rapping about male excrement. Why are you bringing your offspring to my show? She then took things a step further and referred to children as a mistake, rapping about eating male reproductive organs and pissing on his V cut. Leave your mistake at home. Doja tweeted, after debuting at Coachella in 2022, Doja recently returned to the music festival to perform as a headliner for the first time on Sunday, April 14th, and then again on Sunday, April 21st. The Paint the Town Red artist also became the second black female artist to headline the festival since Beyonce in 2018. Doja released her most recent album, Scarlet, on Kimosabi and RCA Records in September 2023, which she confirmed was on its way with a now deleted post on Instagram revealing the title of her record. So, yeah, there you go. That's pretty much the gist of it. So she referred to children as the mistake of their parents. She says that she raps about raunchy stuff. She raps about male excrements and male reproductive organs and all kind of stuff. And her music isn't for kids. The kids need to be left at home. She don't know what this is. Parents need to stop bringing them. So I'm assuming she had to go on this kind of tirade because she has seen at her show parents bring their kids there. I'm assuming that that's what incited this for her. That would only make logical sense. Not that logic matters for much these days, but you get what I'm saying. So what do you make of Doja's rant there? You think she has a point that parents need to leave their children, at home and not bring them to her show?
yes, she has a point, but there's also hypocrisy in this. So you can't control your fans, but you can control what you say on the songs. And you are making a choice to say these things. Now, you can say this was made with the intent to be for adults. Well, when you just throw it out there in the world, anybody can consume it. So it's hypocritical to say that, oh, you can't have kids to come to my show when you know there's kids clearly listening to it at home. So if she was so self-righteous to the point to where she actually cares about the ears of minors, then she would be more conscientious when she made the record in the first place. So to me, it's more hypocritical than anything. Uh, the kid showing up at her show is a reflection. She's pissed about it, but it's a reflection of you knowing how raunchy and inappropriate this is to begin with. And those kids are sitting there reminding you that you shouldn't be talking like that. So her outbreak or her outlash to whoever's doing this, is more or less a frustration that she has with herself than she would have with the parents who's actually, allowing their kids to listen to it so much so to come to a show. So to me, I agree on one level, that one level of, what, the parents should be knowing better than to bring the kids to the show. But she's the one who created this gateway and this portal in the first place for people to step into. So I give her more of the blame than the actual parents. Although those tweets were hella funny. What are your thoughts, man, on Miss Doja, friend of the channel, slamming her fans who bring their kids to the show?
I agree with your point. I think that that's a point well taken. However, I disagree with the idea that she would ever be conscientious enough to look at it that way,
Of course,
because she does not have she lacks accountability.
of course.
She doesn't have it. So when you are an individual who lacks accountability, you're not going to compartmentalize it that way. You're going to look at it and you're going to say, I get to make whatever I want and say whatever I want, and you should be responsible enough to know that you're not supposed to listen to this as a child.
That's crazy.
It is crazy, but that's what people who don't understand accountability do. They shirk responsibility and they project their short-mindedness onto the rest of the world as if it's a world problem and not a personal problem.
Mhm.
And this isn't the first time she's done this. Remember when we talked about how she was at a show and she, she uses the
Oh
N
yeah,
word in her music too,
yeah,
and she's telling the white people in the crowd not to say it.
right. It's the
Okay,
same
well,
shit.
it's the same thing. Like, is there a disclaimer in your music that says white people aren't allowed to listen?
Right.
Like, unless there is a disclaimer in your music, like that parental advisory tag, very well placed on that graphic, by the way. But unless along with that tag, someone can read something, because no one buys physical media anymore.
Right.
So unless I can, you know, scroll up, because on Spotify, I don't. Spotify is the thing that I use. So on Spotify, depending on who the artist is, you can scroll up on the song and there's more information. They'll give you the lyrics and song credits and production credits and background information and all of that stuff. So unless I can scroll up on my Spotify and there's a note which says my music is not for children, you really don't have a leg to stand on with these kinds of comments. Like, I hear what you're saying, but I have I have very low expectations that she is going to understand the gravity of those comments and the place that they deserve to have when it comes to how she feels about this. If you don't want your music to be for children, then make it very clear that the music is not for children. Now, how do you do that? I don't know, because we've talked about this before. This music is largely consumed by kids.
Right.
So I don't know who you think is listening to this stuff, but the music is largely for children these days. I mean, the music is made for kids, I would say. Now, unless she means like nobody under the age of 18, maybe that's what she means, but you can't listen. Spotify doesn't have an age restriction for use. I don't
No.
know if there are parental advisory settings in Spotify like there are with like Netflix or like if you have a Netflix account, you can create accounts within your account that only your children can access, which limits them from being able to watch certain things, like they can't watch TV, MA, and all of that kind of stuff. As far as I know, Spotify, Apple Music, as far as I know, these things do not have such a functionality. So there's no way for an individual to police whether their kid who has a Spotify account is going to be listening to Doja Cat songs if
Right.
they are under whatever age you think is appropriate for them to be listening to the music.
Right.
So, this is like more of this is righteous indignation to me. This is her spouting off about how she thinks the world ought to be. She's doing more, no accountability. Let me try and reinvent the world in my design. This is the world according to Doja Cat. And in the world according to Doja Cat, I get to say whatever I want in my music, do whatever I want in my music, gyrate however I want in my live shows, do whatever. It's a fair market, free use type of platform. I'm putting this music out there at nauseum, unlimited, and there's no safeguards on who can consume it. And so, despite that reality, I still get to be self righteous enough to say, leave your kids at home and don't bring them to my show. I don't know who she thinks is listening to this stuff, but as far as I'm concerned, the people who she says shouldn't be at the show are the majority of the people who listen to her songs. So maybe she needs a reality check. A more comprehensive understanding of the types of demographics that most often consume her genre of music and her music specifically. And maybe that can better inform her on the types of rants and stances that she needs to go on in terms of who is and is not allowed to attend her shows and listen to her stuff.
Or she should just treat it like the club. And when they're selling tickets online or at the whatever venue, I don't know if people buy raw tickets no more. But if they sitting there buying a ticket, there should be some stuff on there. It's like, hey, are you 18 years or older? Or
Correct.
if her threshold is 16 or something, are you whatever your threshold is, that's what it is. And then when they show up to the gate, they got to show ID
Correct.
if that's how you really feel. But I'm
Yes.
telling you right now, she's missing out on some tens of thousands by doing that.
Correct.
So I think she just best keeping her mouth shut. Uh, these aren't the first kids that came to her show, won't be the last. I don't know what made her want to fix her mouth out and say that. Probably, for she probably did have enough. She probably does feel like her show's inappropriate for children. I've seen some pictures of her show. She gets damn near naked. So, and I'm sure there's gyrating going with that. So, yeah, I think it's a bit of a burlesque kind of show she puts on. So, yeah, it probably is not appropriate for, a teenage girl or a teenage boy, but I'm sure, she's used to seeing that in the audience too. And like you said, I think they represent a large part of her fan base, you know. So, don't alienate them like this. It is what it is. You placate to these people, and they love it. So, don't call these people out. At least like this, just like I said, just have a firm stance on this, and be like, hey, y'all, going forward, my shows are going to be for adults only, starting if that's how you really feel. But to me, this is just more of her, with her Twitter fingers, and she just
Yes.
let it. She just let her rant, and she just let her be controversial. This is part of her whole angle. I ain't gonna lie, that was funny. I didn't know she was that funny. I might listen to more of her antics, not her music, because I didn't know she was funny like that. If she talks like how she just tweeted that, I'm like, hey man, she can make me laugh a little bit. Which is probably why her fans felt like they can play with her pubic leg hair.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They think it's
Yeah.
an open door with this woman. And so
Yes. Yeah.
she's so I don't know if she's confusing her fans, like they all got her messed up, or she's sending mixed signals. I think she's sending mixed signals. And so when it actually comes to her in her face, she's shocked and astonished. It's like, no, listen, you're doing too much rigmarole where nobody can actually figure out who you are. So when they actually show you aspects of yourself that you're showing everybody online, you don't like it. It's like, nah, man, you're gonna have to tighten up and own some of this. Like you said, have some accountability. So
Yeah.
yeah, just treat it like a nightclub thing and age restrict people if you don't want them to bring minors to your show. But I'm telling you right now, somebody else heard this, and said, "To hell with it." I'm bringing my 15-year-old to the show. Can't
Yeah.
stop it.
You're 100% right. Um, if you really feel that strongly about this, then just make your shows age restriction, because you can do that.
Yeah.
Make your show no admission allowed if you're under the age of whatever age you think is appropriate for someone to start going to your shows. Just make it to where you cannot go unless you're above that age or at that age at least. And yeah, ID check and all of that. And if you don't fit the bill, you can't get in. But she
Hmm.
won't do that because it compromises her earnings.
Yeah.
And this is where these people try to have it both ways.
Right.
Like, in order to sort of, strike a balance, right? So it's like, don't show me how the sausage is made, just show me the sausage.
Hmm.
Like, she wants to make her money and she wants to maximize her gains, but she also wants to be righteous. So
Right.
she tries to strike enough of a balance by talking like this on the internet so that people can know that she's righteous. But at the end of the day, she's not going to allow her righteousness to compromise her potential earnings. Like it's just not going to happen. And for me, it's like I hear what you're saying, but I would have more respect for you if you were really about that life and you just said, you know what, you can't come in here unless you're of a certain age. But she won't do that.
No.
Um, but I will say that the sentiment of what she is saying, I can somewhat appreciate
Yeah.
because I do think we are at a time where, like, I think we're at a time where, like, the fabric of humanity is dictating that parents need to no longer parent their children and just let kids do whatever they want. Just pick, choose whatever sex you want to be, choose whatever gender you want to be, and like my parental like participation in that should be non-existent. Like I should just step away as a parent and just let my kid raise themselves, right? Like there's a
Basically, yeah.
lot of that going on. There's a
Hmm.
lot of that going on where it's like, hey, parents don't need to be parents no more. Just let your
Hmm.
children raise themselves. Get your kid a cell phone at when they're 5, 6 years old. You can already get them a phone and let them be on Instagram and TikTok. They ain't even 10 years old, but they got TikToks and Instagram. Like there's this idea that hands off, let your kids do whatever, let them be them. And these kind of sentiments speak to the antithesis of that. Because as a parent, if you don't want your kid going to a Doja Cat show, you should be able to, as a parent, say you're not allowed to go. Maybe in a couple years, but not now. So I can, on principle, appreciate the words, but of course, the fact that they come from her and she's not actually going to make tangible, practical steps to ensure that that is something that does not go on at her shows in actuality does make me roll my eyes at her a little bit. But I'm not surprised because she is one of these people who I believe, in my opinion, doesn't understand what accountability means.
Yeah. Hey, man. Hopefully, these people listen and don't, you know, bring the kids to the show. Cause yeah, like I said, I done seen pictures and I've heard some of her stuff before,
Well,
and
she be
just
getting
seeing the,
down.
yeah, man,
Yeah,
she get
yeah,
rambunctious with it. So yeah, I don't get it. So yeah, like I said, I don't disagree with her, but you know, it comes off as hypocritical.
yeah, yeah. I can hear that. Yeah. One of these days, one of these people is going to actually stand on business and do what they say.
Right.
Because
One of these days.
you brought up a very good point, and that's a very easy measure to implement. Just make your show's age restriction, and it's a
That's it.
rule.
That's it.
Solves it right there. That'll kill all that noise.
Hmm.